I'm Laura from Garden Sanity, and today I want to talk to you about black spot on knockout roses. It's not a fun topic, but it's a necessary one, especially this time of year. It's mid-August. For some of us, our roses are looking great. For others of us, our roses are looking awful. For me, I have roses like these that are looking great, and I'll also show you some that are looking awful. So you can have some of each. So what I want to cover today is what causes black spot, what to do about it, and also how to prevent it if you can. So it'll be a little bit jumbled because they all kind of blend together, but stay with me. I want to make this as simple as possible. You're a home gardener like I am. We don't have time for all the mumbo jumbo. We just want to know how to fix it, right? Right. Okay. First, what causes black spot? Well, today's hot and humid conditions is a good example of this. When it's hot and humid, it just increases any chance of any fungus, infection, diseases that you have on your roses, or any other plants for that matter. It just provides the environment for them to increase and grow a little bit even more. Black spot is a fungus. It's caused by the diddly-do fungus. I'm calling it the diddly-do fungus because it's a long word that you don't need to know, I don't need to know, but I will put it up on the screen for you so that you know what it is. Anyway, it causes a yellowing of the leaves with black spots on the leaves. No doubt you've seen this if you have knockout roses or even other kind of roses, and sometimes it does happen on other plants as well. So what causes it? Overhead watering can also cause it. If you have sprinklers, like I do, that hit the roses a lot with water, that can actually provide conditions that are ripe to increase black spot from happening. If you have a watering can and you're watering from above and you're hitting the leaves, a lot of times that can happen. If you don't have a lot of air circulating around your plants, that can happen as well. Now, what's interesting about this is I'm going to show you roses that I have up along our driveway have a ton of air circulation around them. I've cut them so that the bottoms are open. They still don't look great and they still have a lot of black spot. Meanwhile, these guys are gorgeous and they're bushy and there's, I don't think, as much air circulation, and yet they look so much better. So one question is black spot harmful to your rose bush? And again, all the research I've done, experts seem to differ, and they differ in the extreme. I'll put up what the Knockout Rose Company itself says, and it says that black spot actually causes cosmetic damage only, and it's not something to really worry about. But I've read other places that say black spot, if it continues, it can really cause some damage. And maybe it's a subtle difference more than I'm realizing. Maybe by cosmetic damage only, it's not a big deal if your rose bush looks spindly, because technically it's not ruining the rose bush, it just cosmetically looks horrible. So take this with a grain of salt. Some people say it's not harmful, others say it's kind of harmful. So my best advice is let's do what we can to keep it in check. So how do I get rid of the black spot? The good news is it's pretty easy to remove it from your roses and make it cosmetically look better. The bad news is you can't ever really get rid of black spot. Nobody can. If they could, there would be some kind of thing called black spot remover and we would all just spray it on our roses and we would be good. But it doesn't happen that way. So what you can do is you can pull the infected leaves off of your roses. You don't need to prune them off, as I'm showing you here. The leaves, especially when they get yellow, the part that attaches to the stem becomes a little bit weaker, so it actually makes it easy to gently tug and it'll come right off. If it doesn't, tug a little harder, but trust me, you don't need pruners for this. The thing you want to do is you want to get in there and get all the leaves off. As you're doing this, you're going to notice that some leaves are going to fall down to the ground. Worry about the ones on the shrub first. You want to get all of those off of the shrub. So once you've cleaned off your shrub, you're still not done. What you need to do next is you need to go to the base of the shrub. Do you see all these leaves down here? Some may have fallen while you were cleaning, others are already there because they've dropped, because they've just gotten kind of dried up and fell off. You want to get all those off the ground. Don't just wait for a fall cleanup, do it now, because what happens is when it rains, the spores from those mites, if that's even the right term I'm saying, all you need to know is if it rains, the stuff is going to bounce back up onto your plant and it'll just repeat the cycle. So that's the next step you want to do. So first step is get the leaves off the plant. Next step is clean up underneath the plant. Okay, now we move on to the third part. Okay, so you can't totally get rid of black spot, but as we've seen, you can take off all of the dead leaves, you can clean up around the bottom. So what I like to use as the final step is a 3-in-1 product. There are many people that will recommend many different products. So this is just my opinion and what works for me. I'm hoping it works for you as well. I like to use a 3-in-1 product. This one is by Captain Jack's, which is a bonide product. And I also love using an Espoma product, also called 3-in-1. And what 3-in-1 means is there's a fungicide, a miticide, and also an insecticide. So it attacks all kinds of things. In fact, on this bottle, as I'll put on the screen for you, it controls black spot, powdery mildew, rust, spider mites, aphids. Aphids or aphids? Which do you say? I hear a lot of people say aphids. I've always said aphids. I don't know. Is it wrong? I have no idea. Let me know in the comments what you say, aphids or aphids. Anyway, it also controls whiteflies and insect insect pests. So, a couple of things about this. Because the 3-in-1 products also are an insecticide, and it's good for things like a rose slug, which is also called sawfly. The rose slugs look like little green inchworms. Sometimes you see them, and they cause little holes on your leaves. There's also aphids or aphids, whiteflies, all those things, thrips. People deal with all kinds of pests. So the thing is an insecticide doesn't really know which are good insects and which are bad. So my recommendation, especially for bees who love this plant, is to wait until later on in the day. I usually do this around dusk to spray your roses, because it's usually a time when the bees are kind of done for the day, and it's just a better way to do it. Also, because there is some heavy duty chemicals in this, even though it's an organic spray, nonetheless, you put stuff on the leaves in the heat of the day, it might burn the leaves. So you just want to be safe. This is an organic product, but you know, is anything truly organic? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so what do you do when you want to spray this on the leaves? You're going to want to spray it on all the leaves, bottom, top. You want it to be soaking wet, actually, with the product. And that may mean, if you have a ton of roses like me, that you're going through a lot of product, but black spot on leaves, healthy looking plant, you know, you got to kind of weigh the cost versus benefit, I guess. I think the 3-in-1 products are fantastic. So here's how you do it. So let me show you how I spray. And this is pretty basic, but I'll show you anyway. You want to, like I said, get into all the plants, meaning get way in there. See that black spot? You got to get everything. And if it means going from overhead, you go overhead. You get all the leaves, you soak them really well. And I'm going to try to hold the phone and show you with the other hand. So let's see how this goes. And periodically you'll take breaks because your hand starts to cramp up. By the way, this product seems like it smells a little garlicky. I've heard some people say that they use products that smell really good. I don't really care how this smells, I want it to work. So trust me, a 3-in-1 is going to not only tackle your black spot, but it's going to tackle any fungus stuff you have, any mites you have, and hopefully some of the crappy insects too. And that's a horticultural term, is crappy insects. So you see how this is dripping? That's what you want. And you don't have to get on the underside of every leaf. That's impractical to do. And again, I normally wouldn't spray right now. It's mid-morning. So that's why I'm just going to do this one section, because I don't want to harm any bees or anything. So I did this one section just to show you what it looks like. You just want to soak the plant, preferably do this at dusk. And you should be good. The other thing you're going to want to do is, after it rains, if you still see that you're dealing with a black spot, which the rain will bring it on a little more probably, you're going to want to spray again. And the thing is, for any kind of treatment, you're probably going to want to do it probably every 5 to 7 days until everything seems to clear up. You're going to have to be your own judge with that and follow package directions, because each product does do things differently. Now, why I like using organic products as well is because I don't need to put on, you know, a hazmat suit to spray them. There are synthetic products out there, but please, if you're using them, I want you to wear protective gloves. I want you to wear a face mask. I want you to wear, you know, protective clothing, long sleeves, etc. Go in and shower well after you use them, because with some of these synthetic products, you just don't know how harmful the chemicals can be. Just saying. Just my word of advice. I like to use organic because it's better for the plants. It's healthier if it gets into the soil. You don't have to worry about harsh chemicals getting into your soil and causing damage somehow. Another thing you want to do when you're trying to help control black spot, and this could be even to prevent black spot, and this is what I mean by in the beginning when I said I'm jumping around a little bit, because some of these treatments and solutions can be both preventative and help after the fact. But one of the things you want to do is you want to increase the air circulation around, especially the bottom of your plant, because what usually happens with black spot is it will start on the bottommost leaves and start spreading upwards. So if you look down under your plant, even if it looks healthy on top, you might see one or two of those leaves. You want to remove those. So when it becomes pruning time, and again, some of you like to prune your knockout roses in the fall, some of you like to do in the early spring. I always used to do it in the fall. This past year I did it in early spring, and I actually like that better. So that's what I'm going to stick with. At any rate, when you prune them, that's a great time to make sure that you take out the branches that are in the center of the shrub, any crossing branches and whatnot. It'll just help with the overall health of the shrub. There's a link above because I have a great pruning video that's very popular on here, and that'll really help you see exactly where to make your cuts and how to have healthy rose shrubs. In fact, in that video, I show you how far I cut these down, and you can see in the before and after, they've rebounded nicely. Now, in that video though, I talked about that you've got to make sure you wear gloves. Also in my Deadheading knockout roses video, also a link above, I also talk about making sure you wear gloves. Now, in both of those, I had my regular garden gloves on, which are nitrile coated garden gloves. They're knit on one side to let some air in, they're nitrile on the other, but I've since discovered these guys. And these are made by the same company actually that I got my regular favorite garden gloves on. Got these on Amazon. I'll put a link below. They're nothing fancy, but these are rose gloves. And as you'll see, they look, I think, absolutely silly. But this is what they look like, okay? And what's awesome about them is these ones in particular, I can't speak for all of these rose gloves, but there's a ton of them on the market. But these have a suede front here, so it's nice for gripping. They have a little bit of knit on the back, so they breathe, but they're also very heavy duty going up your arm. So if you need to get into a shrub, and I'll demonstrate more in a moment, you can get in without worrying. See how I can go like this? I can go like this with my arm. And the thorns that are right here aren't going to cut my arms, which they've done in the past. So get yourself, if you're serious about roses, if you're serious about knockout roses, get yourself a pair of these. They aren't expensive at all, and they last, well, this is my first season, so I can't say they last a long time, but they look practically like new. And once you get over the fact that you feel kind of silly, like you should be in some, I don't know, action movie of space aliens or something, you know, then you realize they're really helpful. The other thing is these are also good for deadheading, because again, when you have to get into a rose bush, like I recently did this rose bush and I got all the way in. In fact, I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the video, so we'll try it. But right back here is something I need to deadhead, and I can get all the way in here with these gloves, and I don't have to worry about that my arms are getting ripped up. So that's a really, really good thing. Of course, I do have to worry if my shirt gets caught on them, but that's a whole nother thing. So one more note is fertilizer is also important. However, it's mid-August, and so at this point, I think it's too late to be fertilizing this season. You don't want your plants to keep being encouraged to grow because they want to start winding down, even if you've got, like me, roses that these are going to bloom well into the fall. But providing fertilizer is a regular part of caring for your roses, and that you should do in the spring just after you do a pruning. And I say that because I purposely use an organic fertilizer that is slow release, and that is Rose Tone by Espoma. If you are using synthetic fertilizers, again, that's a whole different story. I can't speak to that. But I like to use organic. Slow release is fine. Because remember, what fertilizer does is it nourishes the plant. It's food for the plant, literally. So think of ourselves. If we are lacking nourishment, we tend to get sick. If your plants, specifically we're talking about roses here, if your roses aren't properly nourished, they may not feel as healthy and they may be more susceptible to things like black spot and different pests and whatnot. Now, just to show you a before and after from the pruning video I talked about in the springtime. So there was a rose bush in this bare spot, and I wasn't sure if it had rose rosette disease. And so in the springtime, I mentioned how I was going to cut it all the way down and see if that would help it. When it came back, the growth was nice, but it definitely had rose rosette disease. So we dug it up. I haven't put anything there since. I think if I put anything there, it's going to be a small evergreen, because this bed, other than the small candy tuft down here and you can sort of see it in the back, the Silver King euonymus, well, and the lavender as well, for that matter. The lavender is also evergreen. I just think I could use another evergreen shrub here. But I digress. That's for another day, another video. So here are what these roses look like now, and they look super healthy. I've been out here deadheading them regularly, and you can see there are a ton of new buds. And here, let me show you a few examples. So here's something I just deadheaded recently, and you can see tiny red little specks. That's going to be the new growth that's going to come out, and it's going to eventually cover all that up. Here is an example of the new growth once it's grown, and as you see, it's going to be more roses. And that's probably, I come out here and I probably do half these shrubs at a time, so that there's always going to be roses in bloom. It's never going to be as full of flush as the original blooming that happens in the late spring, early summer, but it is going to be beautiful. And if you deadhead, as I said in that video, and again, please watch it, it's really helpful. It shows you exactly how easy it is to do, at least the easy way I do it. But if you keep doing that, you will have beautiful flowers all season long. So as you can see, these shrubs are doing great here. I mean, this is the back of them, and they look great. Do they have some holes on them? Probably from some pests of some sort, sure. Do they have some of the black spot? Yes, they do. But overall, when you look at them, there's healthy growth. And I try to get in there and get the black spot off. And I try to clean underneath to keep it nice and tidy. So as I'm showing you how the roses look, I'm not blind to the fact that there are little markings of pests on here. And that's okay, because what I do is I guess a maintenance spray. I guess you wouldn't really call it a prevention spray, but I do spray these regularly. And I do these probably once a week when it gets to this point in the summer where there's black spot, it's hot and humid, and other pests are having a field day. So the growth is better, and it's green from a distance. This is a nice improvement from a couple weeks ago. It looked a little bit sadder. So that, to me, tells me that the 3-in-1 products are working. One final point is you could be doing everything right, like I am, and it still happens. You still get black spot. It's okay. Don't feel like a failure. I don't. It is what it is, and just treat it the best you can. So leave me any questions you have in the comments. I hope I covered everything, but if I didn't, definitely ask. I'll do my best to answer. Again, I'm a home gardener just like you, and so I'm sharing with you what works for me and hoping that it works for you as well. And I'm trying to keep it simple because that's what we want, right? We want to get out there and fix whatever's the problem and then continue on with our garden sanity, which is enjoying the roses. That's the main point we planted them, right? We want to enjoy them. Until next time, happy gardening.